Fish. It's supposed to be the healthy meat, high in protein and those good-for-you fatty acids. But America has ceded control of its seafood to foreign companies. And now our government must police 5.6 billion pounds in imported seafood to ensure we're not getting toxins along with our omega-3s.
My job is to go catch fish.
U.S. fishermen are almost extinct. Despite having some of the longest coastlines of any country in the world, America imports 90% of its seafood, about 15 million pounds a day, and it comes into operations like this huge storage freezer in Los Angeles. Each one of these pallets carries about 1,500 pounds of food on it, everything from seafood to produce. And this warehouse has 25,000 pallets. Some of this food could be in here for more than 6 months in -5 degrees Fahrenheit.
A large portion of it's going to be frozen shrimp or frozen fish fillets. Later goes to your shelf at your grocery store or on your plate at a restaurant.
And a lot of that fish comes from China. In October, the FDA warned companies that all shrimp and other seafood from the country should be examined for unapproved drugs. Dr. Mansoor Samadpour tests food for major producers and retailers that want to make doubly sure their food is safe.
Probably where I was really shocked was with imported seafood and the wide variety of pathogens that we found in the products.
Imported seafood.
Yes.
Now FDA inspectors take a closer look at those shipments. I'm with one of them at another cold storage facility.
I'm going to photograph it, okay, inside and outside to identify this particular product to make sure that we have everything that we need to properly follow through on the paperwork and where the sample goes.
They'll bring some of it to a lab to get tested, including a smell test. If the seafood doesn't pass inspection, it's sent back or destroyed.
Inherently, imported food manufactured overseas is probably riskier.
Dan Solis is the FDA import director in Los Angeles, one of the biggest ports in the country.
Here domestically, we have certain authorities, but overseas, they might not recognize those same authorities. So depending on that situation, we have to honor the country's rules and regulations as well.
That must make your job difficult.
Yeah.
The FDA says it uses a number of tools to target which imports it will sample. But consider this. Out of billions of pounds of foreign seafood, about 4% gets sampled for lab testing, according to the FDA. But is that enough? In 2011, a government watchdog said the FDA needs to improve oversight of imported seafood. That's pretty clear language. The GAO came out with a report about 4 years ago making certain recommendations as it relates to seafood inspection and oversight.
Yes.
3 changes they recommended. None of those have been implemented. Why is that?
Feedback from Lauren.
Lauren, okay.
We can't address them for you, and they're going to get upset if we do.
The FDA said that policy question was outside the scope of the LA import director's expertise. So we can't talk about the GAO report at all? Back at FDA headquarters, the agency said it stood by its original official response in 2011, saying the report may not result in a full understanding of its seafood safety program.
We're not holding imported product to the same standard as we hold our growers in the United States.
Carol Engel is on the board of an international aquaculture group that promotes fish farming.
The antibiotic uses is indiscriminate. I had an opportunity to visit a pharmaceutical manufacturing company in China. I asked which were their best sellers, and they pulled out enrofloxacin.
That's an antibiotic that's approved for use in China, but highly restricted in the United States, banned in aquaculture and poultry farming altogether. We contacted Chinese regulators who said they perform random inspections weekly, but they wouldn't comment specifically on antibiotic use. Think you're immune from these issues because you only buy fish from the United States? Not exactly. In fact, much of the fish and seafood that we harvest in the US actually gets shipped to Asia for processing. Our largest single buyer of fish? China. In fact, China and other Asian countries are bringing in fish from all over the world. Whether it's salmon from Norway, sea bass from Chile, tuna cut off the coast of the US, or tilapia from inside China, then they process the fish, fillet it, can it, you name it, and send it back around the world. While the country of origin is labeled on the seafood in the grocery store, there's usually no way for the consumer to know how many stops their fish has made before it ends up on their plate. So the fish you're buying or eating in a restaurant may have traveled thousands of miles, been frozen multiple times, even if it was caught right here in the States.
It doesn't make sense, and you're right, it is counterintuitive, but when you can take product produced in California and you can ship it around the globe and back, and it's cheaper to do it there, there's something inherently wrong with that. We're taking all these jobs and moving them offshore, but we don't have any choice. The labor rate overseas is so inexpensive. It's unfortunate.
This fish will go straight to a facility where it's frozen and shipped out to Spain. Then, destination unknown. But is there a solution? Maybe a way the United States could farm more fish?
The problem is the supply itself is coming from all over the world. We're selling tilapia that's grown in Nicaragua and Mexico and bringing that into the US and putting it into our best restaurants. Not necessarily because it's the best product in the world, but because it's available. Half of the world's seafood is already being produced from farming, but it's being produced all over the world except here in the US.
Don Kent at the Hub SeaWorld Research Institute is trying to build a massive fish farm about 4 miles off the coast of San Diego.
As the Asian economy grows, they'll keep more of it there.
So fish farming is one way to deal with food security.
Very much so, yeah. We have a huge market in the immediate proximity to here. If you don't want to eat anything that's been developed more than 100 miles away, then you've got to learn how to grow it within 100 miles.
But this is just the research facility. They're still in the permitting phase and won't be producing for at least 4 to 5 years. Until then, if Americans want fish, there's a good chance they'll have to keep importing it from places where the US can't fully enforce its own safety standards.